I told you earlier that this has been a brutal season already in football for me. I am a Notre Dame fan. I still believe things can happen. Some of you are fans of other teams, but one of my favorite coaches, and probably it's because they won the championship, and honestly, I just kind of like the guy. One of my favorite guys is Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz was the coach of Notre Dame. I think it was in the late 1987, 1986, and he coached there. And man, this guy, I just loved Lou. And Lou, around the campus, Lou is, man, he's just a great guy. And by the way, I don't know Lou personally. I want to make sure you understand that. I don't know Lou, although I do have a football autographed by Lou, but I'm sure he didn't care too much about Phil Wetzel when he wrote it, but that's okay. And maybe you're a Bo Schembechler fan. You might be that kind of, or maybe you're was it Brady Hoke? Is that his name? Brady? Is that it? Brady Hoke? And maybe you're a Mark D'Antonio or whatever you are, but you're a fan. And now, wouldn't it be something? Lou Holtz is like 5'4". This guy weighs like 129 pounds. He comes up against Bo Schembechler, and he comes up against the U of M, and he says, "Guys, take a seat. I got it covered." So old Lou gets out there on the kickoff, and he gets ready for the kickoff return, and they gets kicked off to him. He runs down there, and he just gets pummeled. He doesn't got any blockers. He doesn't have anybody. He's out there just getting thrashed, and he decides, I'm going to get out there. He hikes the ball to himself. He hikes the ball to himself, and he chucks it down throw, and he runs down there, and he tries to catch the ball. Do you know what would happen to Lou Holtz if he tried to do that? He would be St. Lou in about 2 minutes. That'd be about it. He'd be dead. He'd be gone. The fact is, you cannot do it. Coaches have to understand what they're supposed to do. Number two, this is important. If you're going to have leaders who understand their role, second characteristics of winning teams is you have to have a people who have a great vision for God. I know we're having fun and we're talking about this, but let's get honest with it. I love what the old Chinese proverb says, he who thinks he leads and no one follows is only going on a long walk. You can have the greatest leadership, you can have a team in place, but the fact is, if people don't catch the vision, if people don't believe in the vision, if they don't sense a vision for God, nothing of eternal importance is going to happen. That's why I love what he says in verse 17. He says, come, let us rebuild the wall. Verse 18, and I told them about the gracious hand of my God upon me and what the king had said to me. And they replied, here it is, get it, gang, let us start rebuilding. They said, let's do it. God said it. Let's do it. We believe it. They said, let's do it. Let's begin. And they began the good work. But when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard about it, they mocked and they ridiculed us. What is this that you're doing? Are you rebelling against the king? And I answered them, the God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding. But as for you, you will have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic claim to it. People who have a vision for God. And I want to share with you 3 characteristics of visionary people. Number 1, they are optimistic. Say that with me, would you? They are optimistic. One more time, they are optimistic. Now, if you don't like that word, make up some other word that says that they tend to be positive people. Because the reality is, God never did anything great through a pessimist. In fact, I would encourage you, the Sanballats of life, the Tobiahs of life, those who say this cannot be done, I have never seen something great ever accomplished for God by someone who's a pessimist. And here's what he says. The people said, let's rebuild. John Maxwell said it this way, and I love John Maxwell's quote. He says, do you feel that the world is treating you well? If your attitude toward the world is excellent, you will receive excellent results. If you feel so bad about the world, his response from the world will be average. Feel badly about your world, and you will seem to only have negative feedback from life. This is not a feel-good, positive, feel-good message where if you just believe enough, you can accomplish anything. But I am sharing with you that when God places a vision on a people's heart, that if you simply are a negative person, it'll be really hard for God to lead you. I don't know how many of you remember the movie. I don't remember the book too, but the movie Cinderella by Disney. Some of you remember that kind of, I don't know when that thing came out, but I remember it as a kid. I'm talking about the Disney version, and I was reminded of this a couple days ago. Wesley and I were watching a Disney cartoon, and Cinderella's getting ready for the ball, and she has to get ready, and she says, I can't possibly do it. I don't have enough time to get ready, and she needed like a new dress. Am I right on this? She needed a dress and stuff, and so the fairy godmother or whatever, she blinked, and all the mice started to help her, and the little birds started, am I right on this? I'm remembering right, okay. And so the birds started to put the dress together, and the little mice, and then the mice began to sing a little song. Do you remember this thing? We can do it if we put our heart into it. We can do it, 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 we can do it. You remember what I'm talking about? We can do it. I understand God has to lead. I understand we have to be people of prayer. I understand. But visionary people say that with God, nothing shall be impossible. Old Alvin Miller. Alvin Miller was my vacation Bible school director, Jay. For years, Alvin got up there, and every year we learned the same phrase over and over again. With God, nothing shall be impossible. We'd have 250 kids in that church just saying it. With God, nothing shall be impossible. Can we say that together? Venue, I'd love to hear you, by the way. Let's do it. Let's say it real loud so Venue can hear us. Let's do it. With God, nothing shall be impossible. By the way, it's a biblical verse. Ready? Here we go. With God, nothing shall be impossible. One more time. Let's do it. Ready? With God, nothing shall be impossible. Visionary people are optimistic. Number two, visionary people, they have a willingness for joint ministry. Now, this is incredible. They all said in one voice, let us start rebuilding. They understood that in order for the task to be accomplished, that it was not going to be accomplished by just some, it would be accomplished by all. When we get into chapter 3 and you begin to read, you will notice that there are over 50 groups of people who all take a small segment of the wall. They all work together to accomplish the great task that was before them. They're being ridiculed. Sanballat is over there saying, oh man, if a fox even jumped on this roof, it would knock it down. There will always be opposition, but the visionary people who have a vision and a call from God, understand that it is going to take us all together to do this great work. And one of the reasons for it is just simply encouragement. Man, when I look around here, I see individuals who work. Gordy, for years, you have ministered in our youth department. I don't know if you're still doing that or not. I haven't been over there yet. But you've ministered and you lead you work mostly with junior high, don't you? I didn't ask you ahead of time. Can I ask you this? Do you ever get discouraged working with junior high? Yeah, a little bit. Do you work with what, 6th grade, 7th grade? Tell me what. 6th through 8th. Holy cow. So you voluntarily have placed yourself with adolescent boys. Did you know we have an anointing service every week after the first service? And listen, I know because the youth have had some incredible sponsors this last year. They've also had it because a lot of our young sponsors, they have moved into ministry, and some are going to the mission field, and there's like 9 openings in our youth department just for sponsors. And these are kids that have gotten, or young people who've gotten called into ministry, and they're going off or going to college and stuff. But I'm telling you, are you ever, I'm leading you a little bit, but do you get encouraged when you see people partnering with you? It's incredible. You can take on discouragement when you've got other people. When you realize there's a large thing that stands before me, but we're pulling in this thing together. And Phyllis Jean, I'm looking over here. You've worked for years with children. You do all kinds of things, but you work for years with children. Ever got discouraged working with kids? But when you have like 20 or 30 others who were coming alongside, what does that do for you? Man, it just boosts you, gets you excited. I put a roof, that's a very strong word. I helped put a roof on my house last week. And one of the guys from the church, he came on. I just wanted him to tell me if it was time, and number two, how many square I was going to need, and then give me some names of people I could hire, because I hate our roof. I hate getting on the roof, and I'm just, guys, I got to tell you, I've never thought I was a wimp, but I'm becoming one, and I just didn't want to get on this thing. And he looked at me and says, "Oh, Pastor, this is easy." He says, "We can do this. This is a day job, 2 days, but it is a day job." He said, "You know what, I'll just get a couple of guys from the church and we'll work together and we'll get this whole thing done and you won't have to." I'm going, "Really? You think, oh man, Pastor, I'll bring some nail guns and we'll get this thing." Oh, so last Friday morning we got up on that thing and the boom came up and we're unloading. I got to be honest with you, I was dead by the time we were done unloading the shingles. It was bad. It was, oh man, I had to walk them to the peak, and I'm going, holy mackerel. And I used to be a bull. I used to be able to work through a brick wall. I could just do it. And I'm thinking, this is tough. There were 3 of us. It was hard. And I got to tell you, by about 2:30 in the afternoon, my hind end was dragging. I was in bad shape. I seriously thought, I was getting headaches. I couldn't keep enough water in me. It was beating down sun. It was terrible. And about 3:30, and we're just going, oh, guys, man, it is hot. It is tired. And every one of us was dragging. We were moving slow. And then there was a van that drove in the driveway. And Brent and Jason and I were up on the roof, and Brad drove in. And I looked up and I said, "Hey, I think Brad's here." Everybody's like, are you serious? Brad's here? We could start 2 teams on this thing. And Brad came up on the roof. And it's not because Brad was overly gifted or he was better than any of us. He was fresh meat is what he was. We're like, oh, man. And he got up there, and all of a sudden, all of a sudden, I got a little kick. And the other guys, they started kind of, wow, we're feeling okay. There was something. And we just got a new wind with us.